hope it's on a lot of your minds. Should you be taking a break when the season ends and get into the spring? You got spring hockey, summer hockey, and everything. You want a break. Your kid might want a break, but it's so hard to know if you should or should not take a break. That's what we're talking about today. And I'm going to tell you what, this is probably one of the best discussions the panel, the three of us, have had ever on this show about kind of how to approach the spring and summer with hockey. It's an important episode. It's going to make you think. It's going to make you look at yourself. It's going to make you look at your programs. It's going to make you look at your kid, right? And really ask the right questions to get the answer to that question. Should we take a break? So enjoy that. Also, if you love this show, which we know you do or you wouldn't be listening, make sure to give us a 5-star rating wherever you're listening. Share it with a friend in your Team Snap or wherever, your Game Beast, whatever you're using. And also visit ourkidsplayhockey.com and check out our kind of end of season coaches gift, player gift little thing that we put together. So we put a bunch of deals in there for you to give you some discounts on some fun things. Again, players, coaches, parents, whatever you're looking for, we got stuff for you there. It's a great way to support the show. We try not to bring in anything too frills, right? Try to keep this pretty organic. So that's a way you can support us. But again, we're talking about taking a break. I'm going to take a break from this intro to give you me doing the actual intro right now on Our Kids Play Hockey. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. It's almost spring, which means you're getting the pre-tryout superstar skates. Then you've got the tryouts and the evaluations, and you got spring league, you got summer league, then you got the pre-season league, and then you got more. What we're going to talk today about is taking a break. We talked about this before the show. We actually have a lot of topics, believe it or not, we want to talk about, but I realized we needed to take a break from those topics to talk about taking a break. And I love it because my friends, by the way, Christy Casciano Burns and Mike Benelli is here, as always, and I'm Lee Elias. I'm kind of in this boat too, because I've been weighing back and forth of spring league, summer league for my kid. So again, these are always therapeutic for all of us, but I need the advice myself as the parent of a Mike going to Squirt next year. But before we dive into it, I wanted to do this. I always like to do this. I think we need to humbly brag throughout the episode. I want to congratulate my kids' Mike team, Hawks Red. They won the Mike Beach Bash in Ocean City, Maryland over the weekend. Really came together as a team, really played great, went undefeated with 2 wins and 2 ties. But to see them come together, that moment where they come together and it clicks, that makes it all worth it, whether they really win or lose. But wanted to congratulate them. I always like to do that, those shout outs. But we're here to take a break. So let's take a break from that. And I'm going to throw it over to Christy Casciano Burns because you're the one who said we had to do this today. And you're right.
Right. And the best time to gel and to click is at the end of the season. So good for you that you guys experienced that. But it is time to take a break. It's been a long hockey season. You've been together for months. You've traveled together. Your car's got how many more miles on it? Thousands. Your wallet is empty. It's time to rejuvenate and to let your kids experience some other things besides hockey.
Christy, I would dare to say that it's 2023 and this is already the longest decade of my life.
It is.
Because of the things that have happened over the last 3 years.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is. It is. I always love the end of the season. And it's fun because, we always did a banquet. And so we all got to, see each other one last time, and we'd say, see you in the fall. And we would try to stick to that. My kids did like to do some spring hockey, just fun and light, but they did other sports, track and lacrosse. And that gave them an opportunity to meet other kids and to learn some other skills and to stay in shape and to get outside and to have fun in other ways. So always look for those opportunities when you can give your kids a chance to experience other sports, other kids, give yourself a break. I loved being able to sit outside during the lacrosse games in my lawn chair and talk to moms and watch. I couldn't stand there were too many whistles, but besides that, the game wasn't as fast as hockey. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, hockey's my first love, always will and always has been. But it was fun just to be able to, meet other moms too, and just to have a chance to see your kids grow and develop in other ways. So I'm a huge proponent of taking a break.
Christy, one of the things you said that I want to tap on is that we talked about the kids needing a break, but you also said we need the break. And I was actually thinking of that. When I was doing the intro, I'm like, the weather's beautiful outside and we can go sit outside, but we have spring hockey. I was thinking, we need the break too.
Yeah.
as parents, and it can be tough, especially if your kid wants to play, right?
Right.
And that's what I'll throw it to you guys is here's the situation I'm in. And listeners, really, this is all genuine. Like I'm actually glad to be here today for my therapy session with Mike and Christy, Dr. Benelli, Dr. Casciano Burns. But so as you guys know, as we talked through the season, my son's a goalie. And now he's transitioning from mite to squirt. So the logical side of my brain goes, well, play spring, play summer, get him those reps in because it's all squirt at that age now. Let him get used to it. But then there's another side of my brain that's like, I could use the break. I mean, keep in mind, spring hockey is only really once a week. It's not as intensive. And then I started thinking too of these are bigger kids, right? And there may be some understandable frustration with that for him that he's going to have to learn to overcome anyway, right? So I'm of two minds of the subject. Do we just kind of take off for that 5 or 6 week spring season, go right into the summer season? There's also, there's lessons, like there's all these things out there to take. And I don't know if it's like, okay, should we take a break? I'm going to reiterate to everybody listening.
Yeah.
From asking him, he wants to play. Like it's not, no one's forcing him to do anything. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, do I need to be a parent here and say, you know what, we're going to take a little break here.
Yeah, I think you should. I'm worried about burnout with your kid.
Right.
I think you need to break. There's a lot. I was with you during the whole season, Lee. We were there on your journey. Take a break.
Yeah.
Hockey's still going to be there. It's not going anywhere.
I'm leaning that way.
It's mentally and physically need to separate for the spring. You can jump back in a summer league. Keep it light. Keep it fun. Take a break.
I'm trending in that direction. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, it's a hard conversation to have when you own a rink and run programming, right? Because
that's super fair.
You can't own a rink for 6 months and then close it down and say, oh well, let's all go with the situation that if we want a rink in September, we probably have to have a rink open in March and June. So it's the real dilemma. I mean, because I think the key point is finding programming that fits your child's needs, that allows them to be on the ice, be in an age-appropriate environment, be in a non-stressful environment, still pay the money. You still pay your rink owner the money they need to stay open. But the rinks have to do a better job of developing programming that puts more kids and more diversity of programming into their schedule, so that parents can choose and allow kids to play other sports at the same time maintaining. I mean, that's where hockey's so different, right? It's so like it's not as simple as, well, when you learn how to ride a bike, you just jump on and you're riding a bike. It's you skating. It's such a piece that separates all the other sports that you can't just shut it down and expect a kid to just pick it up in the time that we are now in the hockey world. So I agree with Christy. I mean, the other sports are so important. Don't be what I love the most is when I hear parents talk about, well, my kid's a multi-sport athlete. Yeah, but he plays the multi-sports all year round. Like all the sports they play. That's not what a multi-sport athlete is. A multi-sport athlete is somebody who plays a sport, shuts it down, plays a different sport. In your case, Lee, you have to look at the long-term effects of how much your child loves goaltending. Right. Because what we're finding now is the facts is all this work you do to get your kid to be a great 16 and 17, 18-year-old goaltender, and then they're done because they have hip surgery. Right. So, and they can't walk, right? And at 18. And that happens. We don't talk about it enough. It should be it's an epidemic in my world. It's like, it's the Tommy John of goaltending.
That's true.
Is hip issues and knee issues. And, and to put these, and to not allow these kids to go into a different sport and run and use different muscles and really mentally too, that as much as we all want our kids to get better, to Christy's point, they are going to get better. And in fact, they might even improve quicker if they play a different sport, because they're going to now build. Brian Boyle talks about it, right? He's a strength coach, big famous NHL pro strength coach. Mm-hmm. And he'll say something like, if you're high school or below and you're doing body specific training, then that you should fire that trainer. Like if you say, oh, I'm doing leg day today, I'm doing lats today. If you're 8, 9, 10 years old and you're doing specific goalie training that day, or shoot, depending on the season and what position you're in, then throw that instructor out. You need to think about your whole body, your
Right.
whole mind. Have fun. Spring leagues are great. Summer leagues are great. It's where I get crazy is once you now say you're doing a spring program, you're buying all new uniforms, all new helmets, all new gloves. You're going to showcase tournaments that zero anybody will ever see you. There's no college and prep school coach going to a spring summer showcase tournament for 10-year-olds. None. No. Zero. So just if you want exposure, the best exposure is make sure your kid's still playing at 18. The only way to do that is have them not quit.
And you are really so right on the wear and tear, especially with goalies on their hips. I mean, even older, my daughter just had a labrum tear, and it's just, it goes back to just, using the muscles and overusing them because she was hockey year round in college. So, yeah,
and you don't know, Christy. You don't know if that's exactly like it could just be your body, right? And you don't know if that is what caused it. But I would say that you could eliminate those pieces by just training your whole body, by strengthening all the different muscles that build into your structures, your skeleton.
I can tell you both
but
just from playing.
Parents need to be aware of these types of injuries, and they can be more at risk for them with overuse of these muscles.
I can tell you both as someone who started playing really intense at 12 and really has never stopped. That even I now can see just from my age and talking to physical therapists, I have several underdeveloped athletic parts of my body that I've had to develop over the last few years because they just never developed. Like I never had to use them because I was just skating all the time. So everything you're saying is true. And Mike, I just wrote some things down here too. I wanted to share with the audience because I think it's important to be transparent as a parent in this because I think that's the only way we're going to learn. So I wrote down like some of my fears, like what are some of the fears in my mind that are causing me to think this way? And I'm going to go through them real quick. Like one was, you already brought this up, the loss of skill. Right now, we've been doing this show long enough to know, especially at the age my son is, 8, 9, 10, 11, that's not really a major concern because they're going to pick it right back up. They'll have the 2 weeks where they're wobbly and then they'll be back to normal. So I think we've done that. Another one for me, I'm going to kind of put this out there, was I had this thought of, okay, he's getting into goal. He's really getting into it. So he has to catch up. He has room to make up. And the thing is, that's an irrational thought for him actually being 9 years old to begin with, right? Because no one's been playing goalie that long at 9, all right? That's just the way it is. But the other thing, too, is that that's my fear. It's probably not his fear. I've got to recognize that. Another one of my fears, and this is one that we don't talk about a lot, and I'm going to say it. I love hockey a lot. I'm very passionate about it. So there's always a small fear in me. This is not my kid's problem. This is my problem of what if he loses interest in the game and doesn't want to play it anymore, and how devastating that would be for me. And I've had to compartmentalize that, put in a little box and toss it in the garbage because that is not a way to approach parenting anybody in any sport, right? If I put him into baseball, soccer, anything, and he ends up loving that, in my opinion, it's like, okay, wow, it's a gift that he's found something he loves, or my daughter too, right? If she loves, right? So those are some of my fears that affect or can affect decision-making. And one of the beautiful parts about being on this show, or if you're listening to this show, is I've been able to identify those and say, these are not reasons to put him in a league. Right. Right. And also, again, Christy, you're right. I do need a break. I definitely need a break.
You need a break. Yeah.
I also wanted to say real quick that it doesn't have to be just athletics when you're taking a break. There's also arts and creative things. I mean, I actually knew athletes that would act in the summer. They'd go to theater. So there are alternative things to do besides even just sport, to work your mind out. Christy, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I remember sitting in the stands with a parent, and she had 2 hockey players. One of them quit, and the kid was at the rink, and I said, "Oh, what happened to your younger son? He doesn't play hockey." No, and she was in tears, crying. He doesn't want to play anymore. He doesn't. And I'm so upset, and I just can't stand that he quit. And I've never seen the kid happier. Every time I saw him, he was always so miserable. So obviously, it was the parent who wanted it more than the kid.
Right.
So be careful of that. And
I wrestle with it all the time.
You need to put it out there because sometimes we want our kids to play hockey more than our kids do, and you
Christy,
really
I
need to
wrestle
kind of
with
get
it
out of
daily.
that dream world and
Yeah,
recognize.
I'm gonna tell you on it. I wrestle with this daily. I'm just very hyper aware of it. Probably too hyper aware of it. Like I'm probably too. Oh, I overthink it at times. But like I remember even at this tournament I was joking about last weekend that the kids had a blast. The kids had a
Yeah.
blast. It was one of the best run tournaments I've actually seen. All right, but I remember I was talking with the head coach of my kids. They're like, I want to play. Like I'm frustrated because I want to play right now. So I always try and keep that in check. I try not to overthink it. This is where I'm so thankful for my wife because she'll call me out and be like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
Yeah.
He's 9. Like I was like, okay, that's totally fair. But I wanted to bring those fears up because I think it's important because I know those of you listening feel this too, right? Because we all feel it, but we just don't talk about it enough. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that, Mike, you talked about this too. Of like, okay, well, what if your kid does want to do something? Right. I'll tell you right now, and Mike, I'm going to throw this to you too. Christy, you know this as well. I think from a younger standpoint, not even probably up through Pee-wee, public session might be one of the best things for your kids to do for just skating in general. You will never see a kid dodging, diving, juking, and using their edges more, trying to get away from the rink guard at public session, than you will at a practice. And it's fun. It's not hockey, and they're working on their skills, and they don't even realize it. Not to mention, just the you're there with friends. You're just hanging out, skating around. I mean, I loved that. I think that's one. I also think just like street hockey, casual street hockey is always a fun one too. Like it's unstructured, just let them play, right?
I think
And you're off the ice.
that's the fear of organizations thinking they need to plug in all of these programming components so that their program doesn't fall back. And then the parents go, oh my God, well, I've got to join this because the person that's running the program is saying I have to do it.
Right.
So if I don't do it, then my kids maybe not make the team next year, or maybe they're not going to be valued like the other kids on the team. Or now if all the kids are playing at this level, my kid's going to fall back, and then it catches up with them. All this is just kooky. Like it's like that doesn't make sense to me. Like I'm trying to not swear for Caitlin. So I just
we can bleep it out. What do you do?
I just think it's like we as organizations, it's our obligation and parents to fight the organization, saying, listen, I want to spend my $600 with you this spring. I really, really do. 800, 1,000, 2,000, whatever it is. But I want to do it in a manageable way that can help all of our kids get better and not put the pressure on any of our kids. Like all of this talk about, oh, well, you've got to do these tournaments and you've got to do this outside stuff. We all keep forgetting that we're eliminating so many people from being able to make rational decisions, because who are you going to be, the person that doesn't go to the tournament? Like, are you going to be the only kid out of 18 kids that doesn't join the team? That's hard to do. So free play, the public sessions, chances to say at any level you want to come out here on Friday nights. We have Friday night hockey. You want to come, drop in, $20. That's where kids learn. I think, a matter of fact, if I watched many of the coaches that I work with and many organizations I work with, we do more damage by teaching than we do by just letting them play and explore and letting the high school kids that are out there start going out there and having contact with the 8-year-olds. And we've talked about this a million times on the show about like the best people to have around your kids are other kids. And they're just so great. They're forgiving. They're not judgmental. They want to help. They want to see a kid get better. They want to make passes to that player and set them up for the goal. Like, these are the type of environments that a lot of communities have. And we're not even touching on the fact that there's so many great communities that do this, that like I'm jaded by the fact that I'm around communities that don't do it. I'm like, oh, like, why aren't we doing this? This is so easy for us to do. And you're still getting, and again, when you go back to the money part, rinks, you're still going to make your money. You'll still keep the lights on. You're still going to develop the kids. It just doesn't need to be a money grab. And it doesn't need to be, 67 kids out there on the goal line doing 5-line power skating drills for $40 a pop.
In the summer.
And listen, when I was a kid, thank God my parents were able to get me into like the Howie Meeker hockey school and going to Potsdam, New York and living in a cell block for a week. Like these kind of things were great experiences, but it wasn't 16 weeks of that.
Right.
It was 1 week. Like, I mean, my God, that was like a time where you like met kids and then you just never met them again, right? Because there was no social media, there was no Snapchat. Like now you get to build these relationships with people where you could go for a week of hockey school, come back, you could do your own training, so I always look at it as if you have a kid that wants to get better, they are going to find ways to get better. The more we manufacture chances for them to get better, honestly, the more we're probably beating the sport out of them. Like, more you listen, your son gets up in the morning, he's sitting in the driveway and he's like, okay, I'm going. Hey, Dad, I looked up, there's a clinic in Voorhees and Mitch Korn is teaching it and I want to go, then you're probably like, let's get in the car, let's go. But if it's like, get your ass up, get out of bed, go shoot, or you're going to fall behind, which I do all the time, but I get up. Get off the phone.
I love these moments of self-discovery for you.
I'm like, damn it, I just did that. Oh, so if that's
usually if my kids yell at me, Mom, get up. Get up, Mom, we're gonna be
I want to go. And again, I'm so like I feel for those parents that say, oh my God, I can't get this kid to stop playing. I'm like, that's great. Those are sweet. I mean, I think, but again, for most of us, the majority of people, kids are kids. They want to be kids. Let them, they want to play hockey and they want to stick handle and shoot and pass and all good stuff. But you can also create these great environments in your community where, nobody's really left behind and your kids can have hockey play dates and they can have fun, they can develop and they can explore and they can find ways to get better in a stress-free, non-judgmental environment, which is really the best way to learn at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah.
And again, I like Lee's point too. It doesn't have to be sport. Shut it down. Go to guitar camp.
Hey, look, I'll tell you one. This is going to be funny and also understandable. I was the first ever camper in the sports broadcasting camp that started out of Philadelphia. It was called the Scholastic Play-by-Play Sports Broadcasting Camp. I was the first ever camper in that camp, which has gone national now. It's a massive camp, but I remember people telling me, "You're going to broadcasting camp?"
Yeah. I would have been the guy in high school saying, "Look at this geek."
Here's the thing. And you're on a show with me now, Mike.
Based off of my performance on the show, I wish I would have went to broadcasting camp. But
listen, I'm with you on that. I'll tell you this though: the fact I'm sitting here with an award-winning anchor who I look up to greatly, Christy, and I feel that way about you, and then you too, Mike. It's like it all. My point is those worlds all combined later in my life, and I'm so thankful that I knew broadcasting was a passion of mine early on in high school. But I pursued it too, is my point. Like nobody said you can't do this.
Yeah. And I just worry about the kids whose parents are pushing so much hockey on them year round that they're not going to have that chance to go to that nerdy broadcasting camp, and
what's nerdy about broadcasting camp?
Well, Christy, I think more important, like when we talk about like when a kid's old enough to make a decision, they're scared to ask.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, maybe an 8-year-old is different, right? But when you're 15, 16 years old, and you're like, I really want to do this, but I can't because I'm gonna miss out on what my coach is telling me. If I don't go to this, I ain't playing.
You know what? You're missing out on life though, then, Mike. Yeah. That's the other part of it is those experiences. Like, look, it's the same we talk about with traveling. Go to other countries, see other places, right? Which a lot of us can't do until we're a little bit older, to be fair. But when you start to do that, you see the world totally different. This is the same thing when you're a kid and going to different experiences. By the way, I probably should have led with, I also went to like Star Trek conventions in the summertime. That's nerdy. All right. Sports broadcasting camp wasn't nerd. Maybe
that
is nerdy.
No, I was just teasing you. I did a very similar thing. It was all summer long and they had a program at a television station. I would go every Saturday where we learn all about TV commercials, and I did the same thing. I think I was 15 when I did it. Christy, and that just opened a whole new world to me.
Oh, it was great.
And I'm so glad that I had that opportunity to do that. And I wasn't locked in, some summer sports camp all summer, because I never would have had that opportunity. I never would have seen the light as to a future career. So, so I just advise to don't get caught into that hockey parent trap. It's really easy to fall into that. Try not to, because you might be doing your kid a real disservice
You'll save
and
money too.
limiting their opportunities for careers that could really
Yeah.
that light a fire in them, could be their passion.
You'll
So
save money too. And by the way, on another episode, maybe one day, Christy, we'll talk about your origin story into broadcasting, because it's one of the greatest stories I've ever heard in my life. We'll tease the audience with that now.
Yeah.
Mike, I did want to go back to you here too, because you did bring up a great point about like alternative programming at rinks. Because you're right, these are businesses, they got to run. Spring hockey, summer hockey is kind of the easy cash grab because it's familiar. But if I'm not mistaken, I've seen rinks do alternative sports either on the ice or around the rink in the summertime to keep the money coming in, to keep the
yeah,
kids coming back. But I was just thinking, like, how cool would it be if there was like a weekly and this is probably for more younger kids, but I think older kids would love it too, where it's a different sport on the ice every week throughout the summer. We're playing broomball, we're playing kickball, soccer on the ice, or we gotta keep it safe, obviously. But
Yeah, my boy Lou Taco was doing lacrosse on ice, full team lacrosse on ice. Pavel Barber, out there doing tennis, putting up two tennis nets and playing tennis on the ice with a tennis racket. I mean, these are great things that you do like what I did when I was 15, working for my cousin Rocco Ciro, carrying blocks, across the parking lot and picking them up and putting them down. Whatever is good, you're going to find a way to advance your athleticism. And still, again, I understand. Like I run many rinks, and you've got to keep the lights on. But you can do other things in those rinks where, say, if you wanted to do some cross training, you could still do, traditional skating and power skating and free play, and then do something in the gym or something in the parking lot. You have, all of April through August to do tons of stuff outside.
Right.
Most of these rinks probably have bigger parking lots than anywhere else that you could ever find, right? And they're safe. So you put out and you're playing, the floor hockey and ball hockey and rollerblading and learning how to shuttle run and whatever it is. But the whole idea is, for a youth hockey organization, is to build community, build alternate ways, and then, even better at the younger levels, bringing in new hockey program where you could say, hey, every 8U kid that's in our program, I want you to bring 4 friends that have never ever played hockey before. And if they're playing street hockey, which basically anybody can do, now all of a sudden you go, wow, that kid's actually, look at that kid. That kid's actually a good hockey player. Oh, did you know that when they're at public session, they're wheeling around, like they can skate too? They just never thought hockey was in their, an option. So there's all ways to find and explore this stuff.
You know what I always thought would have been cool in the summertime or even the springtime is a multi-sport league where, all the scores kind of count, but you bring in different athletes. So you might be playing baseball and hockey and another sport, and the baseball players have to play hockey and the hockey players have to play baseball.
Well, this goes right to the initial conversation, right? The hardest part of hockey, like when you do a field sport and a court sport, basically, I think anybody can. Like that's when you hear these Yahoo professional NFL players saying, "Oh, I could be a professional hockey player in 3 weeks."
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something right now. You want to be I bet you I could turn a hockey player into another athlete.
Yes, easily.
Infinitely quicker than you could ever turn a non-hockey player into a hockey player. The skating, it throws everything out the window. I don't care how fast you can run. I don't care how strong you are on your feet. I don't care how much you can lift. I don't care how hard you can hit how long you can drive a golf ball. You throw skates on somebody, it changes everything. So and I think this is where the impetus of the fear of spring and summer really roots itself, because parents are like, oh my God, like the skating piece is exactly what's going to hold my kid back. And then we inundate these kids with skating. And
you can read about any great hockey player through history, from Wayne Gretzky to Mike Eruzione, to any of these guys that, in North America, they didn't skate in the spring or summer. Gretzky, adamant baseball player, like love baseball. Eruzione just didn't play. Like he just didn't play.
No, but I love the bios. The bios I love the most is when you hear somebody saying, "Oh, and here's so and so, drafted, 15th overall, and he could have, and he actually was in the MLB draft at the same year, or he was he played Division I lacrosse, and he had to give up soccer because in college Division I soccer wasn't available to play Division I soccer and hockey at the same time." Like it's every athlete when you look up and down the NCAA rosters, every single one of those players can just easily be plunked into another sport.
Right.
Alex Ovechkin is like a world-class tennis player.
He's an
like,
Olympic level athlete.
right. But so any
Yeah.
of these kids, and I'm not talking about the best in the world. I'm just talking about a run-of-the-mill high school player.
Right.
Like they're just good
Hey,
athletes.
the Expos might still be up there if some of these football players ended up going on their draft team. The other thing too about this kind of multi-sport league idea is that from a development standpoint, and I'm not talking athletic, it puts a hockey player, Mike, in a really interesting situation. What if you got an athlete out there that really can barely skate? Well, now as an athlete, you got to lift your teammate up. You got to figure it out. You're going to find out real quick the kids who can't handle that to the kids who are like, look, let me help you out. And then obviously when you get out to the baseball or the pitch or whatever the other sport is, look, I didn't transition well to some other sports. Baseball I did great at. I'm horrible at soccer, like hilariously bad, right?
Yeah.
But no one's ever taught me, so, or I never pursued it too. I just think that look, these are a lot of pipe dreams I'm talking. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there to not just develop athletes, but develop these kids as people. And we don't take them because it's way too business oriented. There is too much fear from an organizational standpoint, from a parent standpoint, probably from a kid standpoint. Then we're sitting around wondering why they burn out at 17, right? Yeah. Or they get to college and they can't handle that. They got a C- on a test. We're not doing the work now, from 6 years up, and that's not by the way, it's not a judgment on any of you parents listening. I'm just talking
well, you
broadly,
you get churned into the wheel, right? You get churned into
Yeah.
Everybody's doing it. And I think this is the best time. I know for a fact we're trying to do it. My family is say, okay, here's our little break in the action. Now let's, I hate using the word reset, but let's look and how do we prepare? Like, let's go backwards from September and how are we preparing and what can we do in the little different pieces here to say, okay, what needs to be improved on specifically? Like I get nuts when I hear that somebody's going to see a private coach and the coach never asks them what they want to work on. It's the same as skate sharpening, right? Parents, here's one bit of advice. If you go to your local pro shop and you say, hey, can you sharpen my kid's skates? And they take them and go sharpen them, take the skates, run out of the shop as fast as possible, contact me. I'll put you in contact with somebody who knows how to sharpen skates. If they don't ask you, like, are you a forward? Are you a defenseman? What hole are you in? Are your skates profiled? And they don't look at you. Oh,
you don't like when they just give everybody a half? You don't like that?
Just give everybody a half inch. Oh no, I didn't give you a half inch. I don't worry about it. Your skates are sharp. Well, what the hell does that mean? So same thing with a coach. If you're if you get private lessons or you go to a clinic and somebody and your coach is not specifically saying to you, hey, listen, you don't need to go play in this elite AAA showcase tournament. You need to work on your backward skating because you're a really good defenseman. You're pivoting horribly, and it's gonna really manifest itself later on. Maybe not now. It's not gonna affect you. But here's specifically what I'm telling you can work on. That's the coach you want to go to. You want to go and use this spring, summer time to start working on things. Now, to Lee's point, a lot of it might not even be on ice. Right. It could be just going to see a running coach. Like my son's skating improved 1,000% when he took up cross country running.
Right.
Because his running manifested itself into skating. Fact. I mean, I'm just watching it going, okay, this was a simple fix. And the running's free, by the way. You could run anywhere, by the way. So you can run around the rink. If you're a rink and you want to charge some money, put down mile markers and say, I'm only charging you $25 to run around the rink. But if just think about the ways to say specifically, I want my kid to improve. I'm a big slide board guy, right? So I'm like, okay, well, if you want to improve your power skating, it's hard to improve strength. And again, if you're a parent, you understand the mechanics of striding. It's hard to improve strength on the ice,
right? Because
the mechanics don't allow you to build muscle.
No, there's no friction, yeah.
So what do? You get on a slide board, you first build the muscle, and then you build in the technique, and now you put that kid on the ice. So if you do 12 weeks of slide board training, and all of a sudden you go on the ice, you're going to go, holy crap, like I can't believe how much stronger I am. Right. And now I look like in all that time, somebody's like, oh, would you go to power skating class? No, haven't been on the ice in 12 weeks. But the strength is what gives you the skating, It's not just the technique.
Like, what's funny is our Caitlin, our producer, just texted me. She just reminded me of a little story. I remember, Logan, my son, didn't do anything in the spring last year, and he went to a summer sports camp where they had him doing a lot of different things.
Yep.
And I remember we were getting close to kind of like the season, and I said, you know what, I'm going to take him to public session just to get him on the ice. And I remember thinking, even telling him, like, Logan, listen, when you get on the ice, you haven't been on the ice in a while, just remember, you might not. Man, he went out there and his skating had improved by not skating.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I was recording.
That does not surprise me at all.
It was shocking to me, right? And I was like, and I learned the lesson right there of like, man, we are this is all smoke and mirrors here. Like he just needed to play around. He strengthened his legs, obviously. The stride naturally came back within seconds. And then the same thing with goalie. It's funny because, obviously the goalie pads, especially at his age, they're heavier. It's a little bit of a different stride. It's a different mechanic. And when we have him skate out, even his coach is like, man, he's way better at skating. So, a lot of the things that I think we're led to believe, I don't think anybody's saying like you have to do this to get better, but a lot of things we're led to believe are really just simply not true. Like him not skating made him a better skater. Again, I'm talking about 8, 9 years old right now. I think it changes mildly when you get older, in multiple ways. But, I'm glad Caitlin texted me that because I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, he was way better.
We had a goalie who was superb. He was also a lacrosse goalie, and he could stop shots like nobody.
Right.
It was just amazing how the skills complemented each other. So
well, and the fear and the mental part. Like, okay, so if you can get a kid in the soccer net or into the goal net, or a kid that can be good at something else and still, and be a good teammate in other aspects, it's just, one of the things that's so underrated is the ability to leave a group of people and go to a different group of people and kind of reinvent yourself and reinvent like your commitment. And even the kids are just having fun. Like, oh, it's just something I do for fun. Like, if you can go play tennis every day for fun with another kid, like that's
pickleball.
Pickleball, that's like the hottest thing in the world, right? So I think, but just being in a place where if you're a parent and you look at a skeletal system of a child and you go, okay, well, what is missing? Well, go find that sport to balance that child out. Your pediatrician will love you. Certainly, Dick's Sporting Goods going to love you because you're going to go out and buy a different pair of shoes, sneakers, and you're just going to be in a situation where you're outside, you're in a different environment. Different muscles, so mentally and physically. And then one thing we haven't talked about either, it's a really great time to say, okay, guys, let's sit back and see what were the negatives of this season,
reflect,
and taking the break, and where can I fill in the gaps? Was it did I never prepare meals appropriately? Did we maybe go on way too much? Did I miss 16 days of school? Which is, now I'm on I'm getting, CPS calling me, your kid's missing school again. Like where are those balancing acts that you as a parent can make sure that you're prepared for as you go into the new season. And
it's a very good time to reassess and take a look back. Where did I fail? What did I do well? How can I do better?
Right.
Was there a good balance? Was there enough family time? Am I, looking out for the other kids who aren't playing hockey? Are they missing out on life too? So,
I used to say that all the time, Chrissy. I'd be like, no, family time is not December. You want family time? Take it in the spring. You're on my hockey team. Family time is my time is winter. Your family time. But again, it doesn't happen, right? So to your point, figure out and say, okay, wow, maybe I did drag that sibling to every single weekend tournament in New Hampshire, and then let's give them time. Let's go watch their event. Let's go cheer them on. Let's make it as exciting for them as it was for us for hockey, even if you hate it.
Very good.
I hate this.
I love that. Thank you for saying that. That is so important because I think parents they get and they're so exhausted after the hockey season. It's like, I have no energy left.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's where people are afraid to get into hockey, right? Is the way we're talking. Like they're like, if I go right down that route, my kid's actually good, I'm screwed. Like, oh my God, like I'm going to get into that world. Like, so I think just softening the world of what it really is. It doesn't have to be, what we all do. I mean, and we do it and it's crazy, but you could do it. And there's a lot of opportunities to have hockey light, and it's just, you have to choose that. But I think there's, this is a time where you can look and say, wow, I wonder why the lacrosse parents don't get this crazy, or how come baseball's not this? I mean, it's getting there. I mean, certainly at the
it is getting
levels,
there.
it's starting to become that. But I mean, there's the funny thing about hockey, right? Is there's so few. And again, I know it's a broad topic, right? But I know, and I realize there's a lot of communities that have community hockey, but most don't. Most are like a couple of percentages of a bunch of kids from different communities. It's not like when you go into a community, everyone has soccer. Like this town's soccer team is not losing kids to this town's soccer team. They just don't, like, it's just not part of the fabric of the sport. Where in hockey, I mean, forget about towns. You're looking at states of kids leaving states to go to other teams. So it is a different animal. And I think we have to recognize that, when you start moving states for your kids to play hockey, you're putting a lot of pressure into that small window of development, and you need a break. It's going to pop. It's like the old, if you don't alleviate the stress in there, something's going to pop, and it could be your mental state. It could be your kids. It could be the other coaches. Like, I hate this kid. I don't ever want to see him again. Like, sometimes it's always nice not to be seen, right? And not to be in that clinic again. And somebody just come back and say, wow, little Johnny didn't do any of my programming, but look how much better.
I was just going to bring this up, Mike, and it's actually what I wanted to kind of end the show on, is just some of these red flags from an organizational standpoint. If I was in an organization, and as has not happened yet, where I was told if your kid does not show up to this pre-tryout skate, it's very little chance they're going to make the team, I'm leaving that organization. Right. And I can tell you right now, as a coach, the evaluation's the evaluation, and that's where I'm going to evaluate. All right. If I'm, damn me, if I am a coach that is at a pre-evaluation evaluating already and giving kids a better chance because they spent the money to my pre-evaluation evaluation. I mean, like, if you hear that, parents, obviously you got to make the decision, but that is a red flag to me. First off, those are, I don't want to call them cash grabs. I don't think that's fair. I think sometimes they do make sense in terms of how they're run. If they're run well, of just like, let's just meet the new kids. But if you're ever told that you need to be at this event to have a chance, I think that's a massive red flag. Mike, I wanted to throw that to you too.
Well, I still think that's a whole nother.
Mike's,
that's a whole nother episode, because because yes, but it's the old buyer beware. It's be careful what you want to get into. It's if you have to go to Jesus, it's like what are you doing as an organization if you can't just pick the kids that you picked?
I agree. Yeah.
Develop the kids that are in your sphere, and then say, okay, again, I'm anti-tryout. I'm anti-evaluation. Anything below 15U is a crop. It's literally, I know you could argue with me all you want. It's just not factual that if you're 90% of the organizations in North America, that you have 17, 20 kids coming to your team trying out. Doesn't happen. Now, are the big clubs grabbing your kids? Yes, but I'll tell you right now, if you're running an organization, you're going to do a much better job of retaining those kids if you say, I want to keep you. Like, I don't want to cut you. Like, the minute you open the door to have a tryout, you're opening the door to say, everyone now is on an even playing field. I don't believe that. If you're playing for me, like, you're already above.
Here's another guarantee. All right. And I've seen this so many times. They tell little Johnny or little Alice, you got to be at this pre-tryout if you want a chance of making the team. And then we do it. And you get to the tryout, and some hot shot that no one's ever seen comes in, and they're really good. That kid's the one making the team. All right, it's not Johnny or Alice.
Well, the other answer is like like Lee, coach. You saw me play for 25 weeks.
Right.
You need to evaluate me on Wednesday night at 7:30.
That's a great point. You just saw me play all season. Weeks. You know what I can do, right? So I wanted to make sure I threw that out there. I know this is an episode about breaks. But a lot of the ice time during these breaks we're talking about happen because of, you need to be at this. Because if you're not at this, take the break. And
that's why I said at the beginning, right? We're a product of, we're going down a vicious cycle because when I say the organizations, we are creating the problem. Like, we're creating anxiety. We're creating, and again, when you're an organization that doesn't have you're somebody that runs an organization that doesn't have kids, or you're a hockey director that doesn't have children, or you're somebody who doesn't just, you don't like if you openly do this, you just don't care about the health of the kids in
Absolutely.
your organization.
Yeah.
You can spin it any way you want. If you had a kid on your team for 25 weeks this year, and you need to bring in 10 other kids to see if that kid is any good, then you are not a good coach. You're not a good evaluator. So if you're a parent, I've watched an organization take nine kids from a 10U team, went and tried out for a AAA team close to home. All 9 kids made it. I said, well, why wouldn't you just say it the program you're at? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, you 9 of your kids from this crappy organization made it to the elite AAA team, and you're leaving and going to that team. Like,
that is a team.
And there's 12 kids on the team. So what do you like? Don't you? And that happens. Let me tell you something. It happens all the time. I'm watching it right now in real time, over and over and over. Parents, if you're listening to this and you're driving the car and going to tryouts, go and look and see how many kids from other organizations are out there on the ice trying out for your program. And it's probably 2 different helmets. And you're telling me that over the last 25 weeks from last tryout, well, forget about more than that, right? 50 weeks from the last tryout in March, that your coaching staff can't determine who should be on the team now, then that's an inefficient and unproductive coaching staff.
Right.
And again, and take the break. Take the break.
Yeah.
Get away from that. Most likely you're going to come back and they're going to go, oh, we need players anyway, because the kids that all made the team, they didn't stay here anyway, because they were only coming here to see if they were good enough to play on a team. And then they looked around and said, oh, these kids stink. I'm getting out of here. So
I'll also say this, Mike, that when in youth hockey, and again, look, here's the deal with coaching in youth hockey. There's multiple types of coaches, and there's a huge gap between coaches who have kids and coaches who don't have kids, because obviously it changes your perspective. And, you could be anywhere on the line with this, but the idea is this: if your primary goal is winning at youth hockey, and I'll give maybe a rare exception at the top programs, but I even think they get this. If that trumps your need as a coach to develop the players, we're in trouble. All right. First off, the coaches who develop their players tend to win. All right. That's like one of the big paradoxes, believe it or not. But I've met coaches like, well, no, we got to win. We have to win. I'm like, I know you want to win. I understand that. Well, we bring in money when we win. Have you tried the opposite? I'm telling you that just by the audience size of the show, we're all looking for programs that are going to put our kids' best interests, development, mentally, physically, academically, hopefully. I know we steer clear of that a lot in club hockey, but it's just my word is you got to check yourself as a coach of, okay, is my will to win trumping my will to develop? Do I even enjoy the development aspect? Because if you don't, you got to rethink this whole thing. And it's funny because the older I get and the more I coach, the more it becomes less about winning. And don't get me wrong, everybody, I am a competitor and I love to win and I hate to lose. But my drive is more and more towards, let me help the kid. Let me develop the kid. Let me grow the kid. And again, it creates more winning. Like,
right. I'll argue if all you want to do is win. What's that? Caitlin, cue up. Win, win, win. What's that? That's a song. I hear.
All I do is win, win, win.
Yeah, all I do is win, win, win. I hear it all. I hear it all the time. So if all you want to do is win, 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 build a development model and keep the kids.
Right.
If all you want to do is win, build a model that
has giving you the key.
that you position your kids for 12 months a year. Say to a parent, I'm picking you at 8 and I'm graduating you at 14. That's my goal. My only being, because I'm a great coach, I'm a great developer. You're coming to me. You coming to me because I'm the best. Then I'm going to develop. My job is to develop you. If I'm so good, then I'm going to be able to tell in April how good you're going to be. That's how good I am. I'm so good that I'm going to be able to project, just like I say I am, just like I say I can, just like I say I can develop kids. Well, if you're so good, then you're going to pick me in April of 2023, and you're going to graduate me in March of 2028, whatever it is.
Right.
Do math. I'm not a math guy. So just be that, to me, is that's the step. That's the ask. Right. I know I'm signing up for your tryout. It's $325 if I didn't do it online. I realize if I did it online, I save $25. I get it. But I'm just showing up and I'm trying out. I'm signing a contract because you're not going to let me leave the rink without signing a contract, right? They're going to, I'm going to sit in the hallway and Christy, daughter made the team, but you do not, there's zero chance you have a chance to, you can't ask somebody else what they're doing. No, you sign a contract or you've lost your spot. Run away, because I want you to value me. I want you to pick my kid.
Right.
And I want you to graduate them. If you're just full of, if you're BS, which I'm going to say you probably are, then your job then is to pick my kid in April and then find a way to cut them next March.
Right.
If that's the case, if that's the history, take a break, go away, find a program that wants your kid and wants to keep them and nurture them and develop them. And if you're a good coach and you want to do this, call me up, give you a 12-month plan. It's easy. I'm going to pick my kids. We're starting to see this more and more around the country, by the way. We're seeing like prep type environments for 8, 9, and 10-year-olds.
Oh,
that
terrifying, dude.
That is saying, we can develop you guaranteed until we can't, and then we're going to cut you anyway. Like if you're going to make the commitment, make the full commitment. Say, yes, will you play as much? Is it equal? No, all that kind of stuff is just you. If you're good enough, you're good enough. If you're not good enough, if you're not going to make the commitment to me, it's hard for me to make the commitment to you. But if you're making the commitment to me and I'm going to make the commitment to you, then if I'm a professional, if I say I can do it, then believe it. My job is to make sure you get better.
Right.
And if you can't, and if that coach is not saying, and I love like Lee's analogy, why isn't a hockey program doing in a town, say, hey, the hockey kids are ending on March 15th and then lacrosse season starts with all the same kids. Like every kid that was playing hockey now plays lacrosse or baseball or, these multi-sport
as a group, as a community. Yeah.
And I just think it's so much, we could do so much better. But at the end of the day, you have to, whether it's a complete cutoff break and go do swimming, or take a break as far as if you're going to replicate the every weekend tournament, 60-game winter season, and then just carry it over to spring and summer. My personal belief, it's a mistake.
Right.
You don't need to do it. And you're going to find there's no benefit in doing it.
Right. Oh, if only we knew then what we know now, right? And I'm looking back, thinking about all the times I signed my kids up, and they were money grabs. They really were. They were pure money grabs, but you don't see them until after the clinic is over. So, parents, what Mike just shared with you is a huge golden nugget. Huge.
Well,
and
Christy,
I wish I had that knowledge.
All I do is tell people, I know it's that. Listen, you could say whatever you want, and you could call me out. I have a crystal ball. I have it. I do. No, you can laugh all you want. I have the crystal ball. I can tell you right now.
I'm not laughing because I'm laughing at all the experiences I had that just, I wish I had that knowledge.
Almost to a T, watch your kid for 20 weeks, write down something like where I think they're going to, what's going to happen with them, put it in an envelope and slip it in your glove compartment. And when you trade your car in 7 years, pull it out and say, holy crap, I can't believe he was right. Like, wow, he was off by this. And it has nothing to do with anything else, but you're in the system. It's knowing and watching and frankly running those programs. Like I've run those programs. I mean, I've run tryouts with 175 kids trying out for 4 spots. And I've taken this $85,000 revenue. I'm not saying I'm not saying that I haven't lived these experiences. And I think when I was younger, I would do it because I just thought everybody else was doing it. I'm like, well, if I don't do it, the other team's going to take those kids. Like I have to do it. And the fact is, we all as parents can say, no, I demand better. I'm the customer. I'm the consumer. I demand better. It's the reason why a Shaw's can open up next door to a Stop and Shop and put them out of business. It's the same steak, except I'm going to give you a better experience over here.
Yeah.
You buy this steak. And I think that's, to me, that's shopping and maybe taking a break and sitting back and watching all the dominoes fall is sometimes maybe a better situation for your kid. Because I can tell you this, no matter what happens, your child's going to find a place to play in September. They're going to.
Yeah.
Well, not only if they want it, just if you're going to find a place to play that's within reason of what you think you need for your kid.
Right.
So yeah. That's
great.
Good episode.
This was a good episode. Mike, I'm going to start the first Triple B team you know, AAA team. I'm going to start the first Triple B elite team, and let people figure out what that is. Are you on Double B or Triple B this year?
Yes.
No, it's a great.
Back to A, B, and
was a
C.
great
Let's
episode.
go back to just, hey, this is my team. I'm a good coach. I love you kids. Come play for me.
I love it. Well, that was what the spring and the summers were like for me as a kid. But I think we're all in consensus here that, you know, taking a break is very important. And each one of us listening, you have to look at your situation. But as Mike and Christy said, you have to reflect on the season. You got to maybe project about where you're heading, talk about some of those fears and talk about some of those apprehensions that you're having in your home, and decide, you know, maybe we should take a break. I think it's clear here that we need to take a break. We're going to take a break. And that's one of the reasons I love this show. Mike, bringing the heat today. Great stuff today, both of you.
Having a long weekend of tryouts.
Yeah, no, right?
And it shows.
Yeah. He's smiling now. For those of you watching this, not listening, you can see Mike go from serious to happy throughout the episode, which is great. Mike, we love having you. But that's gonna do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Remember, you can hear all of the episodes at ourkidsplayhockey.com or your favorite podcast provider. Also, if you're looking for end of season gifts, or if you're looking for just something to buy for a player, a coach, anybody, head over to ourkidsplayhockey.com. We have a little bit of a team or player deal kind of section there that you can go. It has all of our little things that you can get there. We got tired of saying this product every week, so they're all there. ourkidsplayhockey.com. But for Christy Cash, Anna Burns, and Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias. We'll see you next week as we get here to the spring on Our Kids Play Hockey. Have a great week, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.